On today's show, we'll review Wrestle Princess VI, where we have 4 new champions, talk about Haruna Neko's upcoming graduation ceremony, Yuka Sakazaki had a Ring of Honor tune-up match, there is so much news to get into, show announcements, a tournament, new trainees, and a very happy birthday to Rika Tatsumi. All that and more coming up on the Tokyo Joshi Pod. Stay tuned. To all you big children out there, konnichiwa! And welcome to the second episode of the Tokyo Joshi Pod. I'm your host, Andy Zyke, and on today's show, we'll deep dive into Wrestle Princess VI. We have so much to talk about coming out of Wrestle Princess VI. We'll preview the upcoming Autumn Victory in Shinkiba show, talk about some of the news. We got some major announcements at Wrestle Princess VI. There was also a Yuka Sakazaki sighting in Ring of Honor, so we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But before we jump into any of that, I just wanted to start off by saying thank you for the reception to the initial show. I'm glad all of you are enjoying it. Please make sure you're sharing it with your friends, your fellow wrestling fans. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on social media as we grow. Really, really appreciate all of the support from everybody, especially coming out of a very busy wrestling weekend between WrestlePalooza, All Out. I know there were a lot of GCW shows, Wrestle Princess VI, of course. So very appreciative of all of the support. Stay tuned. There's much more to come. But today, let's start off with all these announcements we've gotten over the last week. So much news to cover. Perhaps one of the more exciting pieces of news, we have new trainees. 3 new trainees were announced at Wrestle Princess VI. Their names are Shion, Henri, and Yuka, all of which are temporary names until they can figure out what their ring names are going to be. Each of these women got a chance to speak at Wrestle Princess VI. Nobody said anything too exciting, just that they were asking for support and continuing training while they are hoping to pass their protests very soon. So really looking forward to seeing some of these ladies debut at a future show. TJPW also announced Next Gen Tournament 2.5, the 3rd annual Next Gen Tournament. 4 wrestlers, all who debuted in the year 2024 and 2025, will be taking place. Those wrestlers are Kira Summer, Chika Nanase, Uda Takami, and Ren Kanatsu. And in a bit of a twist here, this is going to be a double elimination tournament, which is the first time ever that TJPW has held a double elimination tournament. I'm really excited about that. I wonder if it's a little bit of a test or a prelude of things to come, but looking forward to seeing how TJPW handles this double elimination tournament. Matches are going to take place over 4 events. They'll start on October 4th. With the Next Gen Tournament, the winner typically receives a title shot of their choice. So that could be any of the 3 major titles, including the tag titles. And a drawing was held on the 22nd of September to determine the first matchups. And we have Chika Nanase versus Kira Summer and Uda Takami versus Ren Kanatsu on October 4th. We're going to deep dive the Next Gen Tournament next week. We'll talk all the different potential outcomes. We'll talk through brackets. We'll talk through my picks. Would love to hear your picks as well. So get those brackets out, get those pencils ready. Next week, we'll deep dive more into the Next Gen Tournament 2.5. But really, really looking forward to this. In another major announcement, I did say we'd be getting quite a lot of them this week. TJPW announced that they are headed back to Ryogoku Kokugikan for Grand Princess 2.6. Grand Princess is going to be taking place on March 29th, 2026, and this will be the first time TJPW is back at the Ryogoku since Grand Princess 2.4. So about a 2-year span in between the last time they've run the venue. A lot of the wrestlers are very excited for this. I saw quite a lot of announcements and joy on social media. Miyu Watanabe in particular was asked about it in her backstage comments during Wrestle Princess VI, and she says that the venue holds a bit of a special place for her, seeing as it's where she won her first Princess of Princess Championship. Huge news. Really, really excited to see TJPW go back to Sumo Hall here, and really looking forward to seeing this show. We are officially on the road to Grand Princess 2.6. Also announced at Wrestle Princess VI is an upcoming show in Thailand called TJPW Live in Bangkok, which will take place on December 13th in collaboration with a company called Setup Thailand, and it will be taking place at the Circus Studio. Setup Thailand is a company that TJPW has worked with quite often in the past. They've had a couple of their wrestlers become champions in Setup Thailand, Raku and Pam Harajuku in particular. The head of Setup Thailand, his name is Pumi, was actually on commentary for a little bit of Wrestle Princess 6. He got to get in the ring and give some remarks about this announcement, but really interesting to see TJPW continue their relationship with other wrestling companies around Southeast Asia. This show in particular, it was announced that 12 TJPW wrestlers will attend, alongside a handful of Southeast Asian wrestlers as well, likely from Setup Thailand and other promotions in the area. In a similar vein, TJPW also announced the participants for an upcoming Malaysia event called Love and Peace, taking place on November 15th. The announced participants include all 4 members of the Up Up Girls, alongside Yuki Kamifuku. There's also supposed to be some DDT members at this show, and I believe there's going to be more TJPW wrestlers announced as well. But a lot of upcoming outside of Japan shows taking place for TJPW, or at least sending talent to a lot of outside of Japan shows. Hopefully that continues. Maybe we'll get an America announcement soon, or maybe we'll hear something about next year and what's next for TJPW in America. But some interesting shows coming up, and really looking forward to seeing both the Thailand show and the Malaysia event. Coming out of Wrestle Princess 6, we have some official match announcements that have been made for Additional Attack 2-5. That's taking place on October 18th in Corcoran Hall. We knew that the tag team of Toga and Yuna Manase were waiting in the wings to challenge the winner of the Princess Tag Team title match. We now know that they will be facing Uber Eats in Uber Eats' first defense of the Princess Tag Team titles. We'll talk about that match that they had with Kyoraku Kiyomi in a little bit, but this match has officially been made for Additional Attack 2-5, October 18th. We also have a Princess of Princess title match taking place on that show. New champion Miyu Watanabe facing off against her first challenger, Yuki Aino. Well, again, we'll talk a little bit about how this match came to be. We'll also have an International Princess title match at this show, announced after Wrestle Princess 6. New champion Arisu Endo will be taking on an American wrestler, Big Al, Alice Crowley. I'm not too familiar with Alice Crowley. From my research, she is quite prevalent on the American indie scene. She's had a couple of matches on AEW Dark and AEW Dark Elevation, but it's always nice to see TJPW bring in a foreign wrestler. Usually this elevates the foreign wrestler a little bit. It gives the TJPW wrestlers a chance to work with some different wrestlers, some different styles of wrestling. This will be fun. This will be the Battle of the Alices, and that's official. That was in the official TJPW announcement. This is being referred to as the Battle of the Alices. So pick your Alice as we head into Additional Attack 2-5. Teams have also been decided for the November 24th Itabashi Green Hall event, which is now being called TJPW Reshuffle Festival. This is the event where the entire roster is split up into 2 teams, Team TJ and Team PW. I won't share the full breakout of the rosters. It doesn't seem to mean too much just yet. Maybe as we get a little bit closer, we can dive more into which roster members are on which teams. I'm really hoping that there is some sort of bragging rights involved here, some sort of weight added to why they slotted each member on each team. Maybe there'll be some sort of a face-off match coming out of this show. I'm not sure. But until then, we'll put a pin in that, and we'll talk a little bit more about TJPW Reshuffle Festival as we get closer into November. And our final announcement today, on Saturday, September 27th, Rika Tatsumi will be celebrating her 34th birthday. A very happy birthday to Rika Tatsumi, one of our personal favorites here at the Tokyo Joshi Pod. Always a delight to watch. Really, really happy for Rika, for all that she's been doing. Actually got a chance to meet her in Las Vegas. She was such a delight. What I really like about this is that TJPW will actually be hosting a birthday party for Rika Tatsumi. It is a fan event taking place on Monday, October 6th. From what I understand, it's just a talk event, some sort of a variety event. No wrestling will be taking place. In addition to Rika Tatsumi, Mizuki, Miyu Watanabe, Yuki Aino, and Toga will also be attending. This will be taking place at Loft 9 in Shibuya. Interestingly enough, this is actually going to be streamed live on a platform called Twitcasting Premiere, And looking into this, it's only going to cost about 10 to 15 US dollars to watch this live stream. Have no idea how long this will be, have no idea if there will be any sort of subtitles or any sort of translation. Probably not. Not really sure what to expect here, but if you'd like to celebrate alongside Rika Tatsumi, you can purchase a live streaming ticket for this event on Twitcasting Premiere. Again, 10 to 15 US dollars is also an option where you can pay a little bit more, and that money goes directly back to Rika Tatsumi. So happy birthday, Rika Tatsumi. Looking forward to seeing what this event is all about and wishing you a best year ahead. Without any further ado, let's get into the meat of today's show, Wrestle Princess VI. We have so much to talk about coming out of Wrestle Princess VI. This event took place on Saturday, September 20th at the Oda City General Gymnasium in Tokyo, Japan, which is a large arena. TJPW announced the attendance at 1,127. This venue holds about 4,000 people, so they were able to fill it about a quarter of the way. The last time TJPW was here was in July of 2025, just recently, for Summer Sun Princess, which had about 1,300 people in attendance. TJPW also was here in March of 2025 for Grand Princess, which had about 1,200 people in attendance. So this will be the least attended of the three major shows this year, but still impressive to fill about a quarter of Oda City General Gymnasium for your final major show of 2025. The show was streamed live on Wrestle Universe. If you haven't had a chance to watch it yet, it's still up there for you to watch. It's about 4.5 hours long, but that does include a 10-minute pre-show, 10-minute post-show, and a 15-minute intermission. It's about 4 hours of actual wrestling, which is quite the bang for your buck given all of the events that took place on this show. The only two members of the roster who were not present were Haruna Neko and Moka Miyamoto, both of who were absent due to long-term injury. Haruna is, of course, going to retire at the September 27th event, which we'll talk about coming up later today on the show. We did get English commentary on this show, brought to us by Mr. Haku and his partner Balianaki. We also had a rotating set of guests throughout the night as well. Always really cool to see English commentary. It helps bring the show a little bit closer to home. It helps with the translations. It helps with just understanding what's going on a little bit more. Of course, Mr. Haku and Bali and Aki add a level of silliness that your mileage may vary on, but personally, I really enjoy it. I think it adds some character, and I think both of their personalities lean really well into the zaniness that TJPW holds. We opened up with Rise Shirai giving the house rules and her opening remarks. Pumi started on English commentary. Pumi, the owner of Set Up Thailand Pro Wrestling. At one point during Rise Shirai's announcements, Pumi actually had to sprint from the commentary booth down to the ring to give some remarks about the Thailand show announcement. This was also when the three trainees were introduced. There was an announcement that there's a collaboration with a video game called Katamari Damacy. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it. But in support of that collaboration, Mizuki and Suzume are actually appearing at the Tokyo Games show this week. So quite a cool little crossover. We did get 2 Up Up Girls songs. Unfortunately, we did not get Stand Up Proof of Love. We also didn't get Upper Kick, which is kind of a surprise. That might be the biggest surprise coming out of this show, to be honest with you. The 2 songs that we did get were Seed and Love Motto. I'll admit Love Motto is growing on me a little bit. It's still no Upper Kick. It's still no stand-up Proof of Love, though. We also still don't have a Train of the Day from Raku. I don't know what the heck is going on there. Somebody give Raku a call and check in on her, because it's been quite a while since we've gotten a Train of the Day from her. The show started off with a tag team match between the team of Suzume and Ren Kanatsu, taking on the team of Mei Saruga and Uda Takami. Uda and Mei actually sang their way to the ring. It was really cute. At this point in the show, we are 3-0 in terms of musical performances against matches. Not what I was expecting tuning in, or maybe it was what I was expecting tuning in. Uda and Ren start us off. Mei ends up coming in with some nice double team moves with Uda. She's really teaching Uda that goblin behavior. A lot of aggressive kicks, a lot of biting was taking place. Not necessarily the best influence on Uda Takami. Mei actually has this beautiful spot where she's walking on the top rope for quite a long time. At one point, Suzume even shakes the rope and she's able to retain her balance. She goes on one foot and kicks Suzume off the apron, ends up walking backwards. Excellent athleticism from Mei Saruga. Mei, I think, is really underrated and probably one of the best Joshi performers not signed full-time with a major company. Suzume and Mei eventually tag in, have a great sequence of mat wrestling, submissions, they're trading roll-ups, very evenly matched. Mei eventually takes her out with a huge crossbody off the top rope. I'm calling for a singles match. At some point, we need a singles match between Suzume and Mei Suruga. I was doing a little bit of research on Cage Match, and it seems like they haven't had one since 2021 or 2022. So we are definitely due for a singles match, a special singles match on an upcoming show. This match ultimately ends with Uda Takami submitting Ren Kanatsu with the Koala Clutch at 12 minutes and 55 seconds. I was shocked to see this. I had a feeling that Mei Suruga and Uda Takami would pick up the win coming into this match. Never would I thought that Uda would be the one to win, and win via submission at that. This match exceeded all of my expectations, got the show off to an excellent start. We still don't have a tag team name for Mei and Uda yet. I'm still going to champion Team Apple Ice Cream. They didn't really talk about it too much in the backstage promo. The second match was for the Iron Man Heavy Metalweight Championship. It was a delayed entry battle royal. The champion, Pokotan, defended against a large contingent of wrestlers: Raku, Mihiro Kiryu, Shino Suzuki, Mifu Ishida, Kira Summer, Chika Nanase, and Ram Kai Chao. This was done Rumble style. There was a countdown before each entry came out. Eliminations were done via pinfall, submission, or being thrown over the top rope. Of course, if you pinned the champion, you would win the Iron Man Heavy Metalweight title, but the match was not over until all competitors were eliminated from the match. Pokotan comes out first and, probably as a sign of things to come, decides to flip over the top rope on his way into the ring and immediately loses his head. Definitely set the tone for what we were going to experience in a match like this. Second out is Shino Suzuki, followed by Chika Nanase, and then Raku, who comes out with her pillow and immediately takes a nap in true Raku fashion. There's a nice moment where Chika goes one-on-one with Pokotan and gives him this uppercut that just knocks his head flying into the air. The headless Pokotan goes full out, ends up eliminating Chika with a pinfall. Mifu Ishida comes out next, followed by Ram Kai Chao, and for some reason, Ram assumes that Raku is inside of the Pokotan costume. Ram and Pokotan dance together, they have a nice little moment. Naturally, this upsets Raku, who climbs in the ring and yells at both of them. Raku eventually takes out Ram with a pillow shot to the head and then proceeds to suffocate Pokotan with the pillow, ultimately getting a pinfall and eliminating him from the match. But hold on a second, the pillow was in between Raku and Pokotan, so the referee awards both the pinfall and the DDT Iron Man Heavy Metalweight Championship to Raku's pillow. We are a match and a half in, and we already have a new champion, and in typical TJPW fashion, it's a pillow. This leads to a literal pillow fight breaking out. Kira Summer is the next one out. The pillow ends up somehow eliminating Shino Suzuki. Raku pushes Kira Summer over the top rope, chops her, ends up eliminating Kira as well. Not a large showing from Kira in this matchup. Next out is Mihiro Kiryu, who clearly has no idea what the heck is going on. I wouldn't either. I don't blame you, Mihiro. She's able to squeeze in an apology for not knowing what's going on, and in the process, nearly gets a pinfall on the pillow, but it's broken up by everybody in the match. Mifu Ishida tries to rile up the crowd by doing some cheerleading. Ram Kai Chao is having none of that. That's none of her vibe. Mifu ultimately gets eliminated by being thrown over the top rope by both Ram and Raku. Which brings you to the final four: Mihiro, Ram Kai Chao, Raku, and allegedly Raku's pillow, who, remember, is still the DDT Iron Man Heavy Metalweight Champion at this point. In a surprising twist of events, Raku accidentally chops Ram over the top rope. Ram very, very upset of that. Not a great day for the married couple, Raku and Ram. Raku ends up going for a Dr. Yellow on top of the pillow, but Mihiro counters into a spine buster on the pillow, pins both Raku and the pillow at 15 minutes and 21 seconds. Your new DDT Iron Man Heavy Metalweight Champion, the 1,768th champion, Mihiro Kiryu. If my analysis had you thinking this match was all over the place, that is spot on. It was confusing as heck, but in the best possible way. Ultimately, it played out exactly as I expected it to. I'd be remiss not to mention there was a really nice touch after the match where Daisuke Kiso, the referee, ended up checking on the pillow to make sure the pillow was okay after the pinfall. Really, really nice touch from referee Kiso. Backstage, Mihiro actually added a sticky note to the front of the belt to call it the Mahiron Man Heavy Metalweight Championship, as if the name wasn't long enough. She actually escaped pinfall attempts from both Chika Nanase and Suzume backstage as well. The third match of the evening, a singles match between Aja Kong and Himawari. Aja Kong has to have one of the most epic entrances. The lights, the Judas Priest music, the camera work that was done as she was coming out to the ring here really, really set the stage for her aura, her persona, her legend as she comes to the ring. Aja doesn't shake hands, ends up toying with Himawari to start, literally slapping her around, laughing. At one point, she chokes Himawari with her own braids. Himawari immediately gets up, says arigato gozaimasu, and then tries to leave and say, I've had enough. Aja's having none of that. She eventually tries to bring in the tin can, and the referee tries to put a stop to this, but Aja says she's been using it longer than Himawari has had her hair, and that it's a part of her body. So if Himawari is able to use her hair, she should be able to use the tin can. Very, very funny spot from Aja. Aja blocks some Himawari hair attacks with the tin can, and then in a really neat spot, Himawari blocks the can shot using her hair braids, but eventually, with all Aja Kong matches, she connects to the head with the tin can shot. Himawari does at one point take down Aja Kong with a diving hair whip and a neckbreaker combination, but ultimately Aja Kong wins this with the backdrop driver at 8 minutes and 53 seconds. She provides a little bit of words of encouragement to Himawari after the match, but this went about as exactly as expected, I would say. As if we didn't already have enough shenanigans with a temporary pillow champion, the fourth match is what has been labeled a flag scramble authorized weapon death match between Rika Tatsumi and Pam Harajuku. Going into this, we knew that there would be a stipulation announced. It was announced shortly after episode 1 of the Tokyo Joshi Pod came out, so we didn't get too much of a chance to dive into it, but this stipulation is ultimately a game of capture the flag, and once you do capture a flag, you are able to use a pre-authorized weapon that you have brought with you. The weapons were deemed toys. That was supposed to be the category of the weapons. Pam starts this match off desperately trying to go for the flag. Rika ends up playing keep away and at one point puts the flag into the back of her gear, but Pam ultimately gets at it, and her first weapon of choice is 100 plastic balls. Kind of like what you'd see in a ball pit as a kid, I guess. Rika somehow gets the advantage on Pam, ends up grabbing her first flag. There's a really funny moment where Pam falls out of a Tree of Woe spot in the corner and just splats onto the mat, and even Bali and Aki and Mr. Haku couldn't keep it together. It was so well done by Pam. Pam is a very underrated performer, I would say, in particular with the amount of selling and the amount of a beating that she can take. Anyway, Rika's first weapon of choice was a giant slapping fan. Rika spends a lot of the time still on the attack. Pam is actually able to counter by using her scream and is able to then capture her second flag of the contest. Pam's second weapon of choice are mega glow sticks, and these were brought out in a Buc-ee's bag. I love that the Buc-ee's lore is continuing in TJPW, even back in Japan. I'm not sure if a lot of the people in attendance knew quite what Buc-ee's was, but really, really cool to see the Buc-ee's bag. What we end up getting could only really be described as a rave. I'm pretty sure they turned the lights down in the arena very, very slightly, but Pam basically waving around these mega glow sticks. She hits a Lafayette Harajuku and also the Den Den Daiko using both of the mega glow sticks. Pam kind of looks like one of those people who directs planes into the parking spots at airports. That's really what was coming to mind as I was watching this. Eventually, Rika grabs her second flag, and her second weapon of choice is TJPW promoter Tetsuya Koda. Koda wants absolutely nothing to do with this. He's throwing up an X, he's shaking his head. Rika basically abuses him just as much as Pam for the latter stages of the match. Rika eventually trips over Koda, hits herself with the mega glow sticks, and is actually rolled up by Pam at 11 minutes and 1 second. I had absolutely no idea what to expect going into this match, but I certainly didn't expect Palm Harajuku to pin Rika Tatsumi. Very, very surprising to see this take place. I know last week we spoke about Palm picking up a pinfall victory in a tag team match. Back-to-back wins for Palm. I don't think this is over. Afterwards, Rika was furious both at Palm and at Kota, and backstage she naturally blamed the entire loss on Kota for messing everything up. Some twisted, sick psychopath has put a tag team match on the next show where Palm and Rika are tagging together. We'll see what ends up happening with that, but I would expect a little bit of carryover from this match. In the fifth match, we get into a little bit more of your standard serious type of wrestling. We have a tag team match between debuting first time in TJPW Hiroyo Matsumoto and Yuki Arai taking on the team of Haru Kazushiro and Toga. For this match, Kira Summer tagged into English commentary. Mr. Haku actually confirmed what we were speaking about last week, that Matsumoto and Arai know each other previously through some sort of television and trainer-trainee type of a relationship. Matsumoto, another one with a really, really, really cool entrance with her music and the lights and the smoke and everything. First time in TJPW, definitely made an impact. Yuki Arai and Toga start us out. Haru eventually tags in and immediately calls for Hiroyo, which leads to huge chants in support of Haru Kazushiro. We get some pretty solid tag team action. At one point, Toga and Matsumoto have a really, really nice exchange, and that carries over a little bit into the post-match as well. We got a couple of nice double team spots from Matsumoto and Arai, a double submission at one point, a double slam at one point. Ultimately, Yuki Arai pins Haru after delivering the finally at 13 minutes and 52 seconds. And then post-match, Toga does get in the face of Hiroyo Matsumoto, gives her a little bit of a shove afterwards, but nothing too much from it. But some nice fire from Toga. Really, really cool to see Toga try to take it to the veteran, Matsumoto. Ultimately, though, the winners here never really seemed in doubt, given how much Yuki Arai has been pushed of late, and that it's Hiroyo Matsumoto's first time in TJPW. Continuing on, we get another tag team match, the team of Miyu Yamashita and Kaya Toribami taking on Yuki Niki, the team of Ryu Mizunami and Yuki Aino. String of great entrances here, another terrific entrance. Yuki Niki has a coordinated entrance. We get new gear from Yuki Aino, which was really cool to see. And of course, Ryu doing her usual shtick on the way to the ring, the crowd chanting Aniki the entire time. But not to be outdone, when Miyu Yamashita gets in the ring, she hits Ryu Mizunami and Yuki Aino with a killer pre-match stare. She was staring bullets right through them. It was really tremendous, really great character work, really great camera work as well. Miyu Yamashita starts off the match against Aniki. This match was an incredibly hard-hitting affair. We got kicks, we got shoulder tackles. All four women really showed their toughness in this match. The first sign of weakness really only came when Miyu Yamashita decided to take the machine gun chops to spare Kaya from having to deal with the machine gun chops from Aniki. The match ultimately concluded with Yuki Aino submitting Miyu Yamashita, our second surprise submission victory of the night, at least in my opinion. Aino submits Miyu with the full Nelson of Love and Fire. She actually added in a body scissors as well at the 13-minute, 11-second mark. I had a feeling that Team Yuki Niki would pick up the win here. Usually when an outsider comes into TJPW in a tag team match, their team typically will win, but really, really surprised at who took the loss. I would have thought that Kaya Toribami was in there to take that pinfall or to submit, but a huge, huge victory for Yuki Aino submitting Miyu Yamashita. That really doesn't happen too often in TJPW. When this first occurred, I had a feeling like this would mean something big for Yuki Aino, and sure enough, towards the end of the night, it wasn't the last time we saw Yuki Aino on this show. The only real note from the backstage comments was Miyu Yamashita saying that she'd like to tag a little bit more with Kaya Toribami, and we've actually been seeing some match announcements where these two will continue to tag team together. Miyu Yamashita is in the market for a new tag team partner now that Maki Ito is no longer with TJPW. That brings us to our first of 3 championship matches, the International Princess title match between Arisu Endo and Priscilla Kelly. Again, this was Kelly's first appearance in TJPW since late 2018. She got a really warm reception, which was nice to see. Arisu came out though to an insane amount of streamers, a huge Arisu chant. The crowd was really in Arisu Endo's corner. I was really impressed with the chemistry that these two ladies had. They showed really strong chemistry together. It seemed that Priscilla Kelly remembered the style really well. She started out using her size advantage. There was one awkward moment where Arisu ended up slipping on the turnbuckle, but they followed it up really well with a real nasty knee drop to the outside. Arisu actually started bleeding at some point in this match. There was a moment where Priscilla Kelly was hitting her with some strong chops and strikes. Might have been when it took place. It was a little bit hard to tell, but she was bleeding from the nose area. Arisu ends up winning this match with the Juno Okite at 10 minutes and 59 seconds. Suzume was there to wipe her nose, a very wholesome moment. More streamers came in from the crowd as if they knew who was going to win this match. Personally, I would have liked to see like 3 to 5 more minutes of this. I thought these two ladies really had quite the groove going. They were working together really well. Their chemistry was very strong, and about 11 minutes felt a little bit short for a large title match. But ultimately, I guess you have to save some time for other matches on the show, and we still did have 2 title matches to come. Arisu becomes the 15th International Princess Champion. This is her first time holding the belt. Backstage, she said that her family was in attendance, which was really nice to hear, and that she also wants to take this belt out for ramen, and that she'd like to take it to Disneyland as well. So we'll see if we get any YouTube videos coming out of this with Arisu Endo. In the semifinal match, the Princess Tag Team titles were on the line between the champion team Kyoraku Kiyome in their 4th defense, taking on the challenging team Uber Eats. We had new entrance ropes for Uber Eats, which maybe should have been a sign of things to come. We did also see Hyper Misao's Hypermobile make an appearance as well. Misao started off this match with her typical mic performance, mocking Wakana for losing her teeth in her last match. Ended up telling Wakana to bite her. Wakana did not back down at all. She didn't bite Hyper Misao, but she actually pulled out a cheeseburger that looked pretty tasty, if I'm being honest, and took a huge bite out of this cheeseburger that just really got the crowd going, really got the crowd in support of Uber Eats. Uber Eats starts off on the attack. Kyoraku Kiyome immediately heads outside and goes for the Hypermobile bicycle. They end up missing everybody on the first attempt, but the second strike does connect with Mahiro Kiriao. For those of you that are newer to TJPW or not as familiar, this is a recurring bit. The Hypermobile comes out, usually misses its intended target, but Mahiro Kiriao, always in the way, gets taken out by the Hypermobile, and of course we got that here on this show as well. After the referee was done yelling at Mahiro for getting in the way and interrupting the match, Kyoraku Kiyome went to work on Wakana's arm and her mouth and face area as well. Wakana was able to eventually reverse and actually bit Shoko Nakajima, something that she was really begging her to do in the pre-match comments. Shoko was teasing her, trying to provoke her, so it was really cool to see that fire in Wakana. She did end up biting Shoko Nakajima. There were really nice pairings, actually, with all 4 of these women, all good matchups. We had some good double team maneuvers as well. Shoko and Yuki seemed to be some of the most fluid together. They did have that kind of a warm-up match in the States in MLW, and as I watched that match and as I watched this match, saw some similarity. But those two work really well together. Very strong back and forth. Ultimately, this came down to Yuki Kamifuku pinning Shoko Nakajima at 17 minutes and 2 seconds with a top rope famouser. At the end of the match, she puts the belt on Wakana in another very wholesome moment. Ultimately, a very strong match. If you enjoy tag team wrestling, with a little bit of comedy sprinkled in, I think you'll enjoy this match. Uber Eats becomes the 19th Princess Tag Team Champions. It is the first time that both of them are holding these belts. As we know, they are lined up to face the team of Toga and Yuna Manase on October 18th. Backstage, Uber Eats did tease some new entrance music for their first defense, so we'll have to listen in on October 18th to see if they do record something new or if they have recorded something new. A little bit interesting too, in her remarks, Kamiyu has also revealed that she's been freelancing with TJPW through an entertainment agency, and she did this kind of to encourage the powers that be to sign her full time with TJPW now that she's won her second TJPW championship, her first being the International Princess title. Not sure if this was Kamiyu just playing into her persona and her character a little bit, if maybe we're all being worked here, if this was just some character work, but really interesting to hear that Kamiyu may not be signed full time, at least directly with TJPW, but if not, highly suggest Koda or whoever else to get on top of that. Kamiyu has been a huge presence for TJPW in the last few years. She went to the finals of the Tokyo Princess Cup in 2023. She's somebody who adds a different flair, a different type of gravitas and persona. She's also a lot larger and taller than some of the other girls and adds an interesting dynamic in a lot of the matches. Sign Kamiyu if you haven't signed Kamiyu already. Please, what are we doing? And in our main event, the Princess of Princess title on the line between the champion Mizuki taking on the challenger Miyu Watanabe. Fumarin actually tagged in to English commentary for this. Always love to hear Fumarin. Her English is flawless. This is the third meeting between the two of them. Mizuki has won both of the prior singles matches. This is also Mizuki's fourth defense of the title. Both of these women received loads of streamers to start this off. They did actually handshake as well. That's something we don't always see from Mizuki, but she showed that sign of respect right from the get-go here for Miyu. We started off very evenly matched. It actually led to a really interesting standoff in the corner where Miyu charged into Mizuki. Mizuki went for a big boot in the corner, but Miyu stopped short, and they just stared at each other for a few minutes. We also got Fumarin on commentary doing a little bit of color analysis with their gear, which was an interesting tangent that we took for a moment. There was also a nice counterbalance moment shortly thereafter where Mizuki stopped short of a Miyu Watanabe big boot in the corner. Nice little bit of a bookend. But ultimately, Mizuki, being the aggressor that she is, ended up going on the attack and utilized that to get the upper hand in the match. They stayed fairly even throughout. They were countering each other's signature moves, Miyu trying to use more of her power, Mizuki trying to use a little bit more of her agility, some of her aggression that she shows quite often. Mizuki was targeting Miyu's hand quite a bit. There was a nice callback moment as well to this kind of hand extension, let me pick you up and come on into the ring moment. They did that at one of the preview tags leading up, and it was a nice callback that we saw there. Miyu took this really nasty bump on the apron from a scoop slam by Mizuki. Mizuki executed this through the ropes. It seemed like a very difficult maneuver for both of them. Miyu obviously took the brunt of it, landing really hard on the apron. And as if that wasn't enough, Mizuki then climbed to the top rope and hit a double foot stomp from the top rope all the way down to the floor. I was clutching at my own ankles watching this. Mizuki is not a large competitor. She's quite thin. She's quite bendy and flexible. Seemed to be okay coming off of this, but a really crazy move, really eye-opening, really killer impact on Miyu. As we get towards the closing stretch of this match, Miyu blocks a whirling candy attempt into a sideways giant swing. I am always impressed at Miyu's strength, no matter who she faces off against, as she executes the giant swing. A second whirling candy ultimately connects, but only for a 2 count. Mizuki goes for a diving double foot stomp and then attempts a cutie special, but the cutie special gets blocked into the teardrop by Miyu Watanabe. Miyu then hits her with a laser beam, and the thud on this laser beam was so loud. I don't know if it was mic'd up a certain way, but that sounded like it hurt as all heck. Miyu ultimately wins this match with a modified teardrop. It was a spinning teardrop at 22 minutes and 58 seconds. A wonderful match. If you only want to watch one match from Wrestle Princess VI, this is the match to watch. Miyu becomes the 16th Princess of Princess champion, her second time winning this belt after she dropped it earlier this calendar year to Mizuki. Afterwards, the two share a nice moment, a little bit of a hug, and we get our first challenger. Yuki Aino ends up walking out and challenging for October 18th. That's the additional Attack 2-5 show in Korakuen Hall, encouraging Miyu Watanabe to not only be the summer princess, but also the autumn princess. This is a silly exchange. Miyu definitely had some things lost with what was being said. Global warming came up at one point. Miyu was very confused. She ultimately accepted the challenge, so we'll have 3 title matches on that additional Attack 2-5 show. Overall, Wrestle Princess VI was a really strong show. There were a few moments where the action was a little bit less exciting, a little bit slower, but each match had some sort of an element of weight to it, and the ones that didn't were either primarily comedy driven, which were probably some of my favorite matches coming out of the show, to be honest. Or we got some really, really shocking results like the Uda submission victory in the opening match, the Yuki Aino submission victory, and then title challenge later in the show. I highly encourage all of you to go back and watch this show if you haven't. It's a strong showing from TJPW in their last big show of the year. With all that said, we do have one show upcoming on September 27th called TJPW Autumn Victory in Shinkiba. This will be taking place at the Shinkiba First Ring in Tokyo. It will be streaming live on Wrestle Universe, but it will happen. It's a little bit of an evening show in Japan, so it will be happening overnight for us here in the States. So not sure if I'll be able to catch this one live, but we'll definitely be watching it after the fact on Wrestle Universe. This is the Haruna Neko graduation show. There will be a graduation ceremony for Haruna on this show. Paper streamers are allowed to be thrown only for Haruna. It's going to be a little bit of a bittersweet moment, I would say. I'm sure it will be really, really nice. I'm sure they will do Haruna well. But of course, it's very sad to see Haruna hang up the boots, even if it is for medical reasons. To briefly run down the card for this match, we have a 6-woman card, starting off with a 6-woman tag team match, Miyu Yamashita, Shoko Nakajima, and Kaya Toribami, taking on the team of Yuki Arai, Himawari, and Mifu Ashita. Interesting note here, because Miyu and Kaya Toribami will continue teaming together. This is also going to be a preview for the upcoming MLW Featherweight title match on October 4th in Los Angeles between Shoko Nakajima and Himawari. We have a 3-way match between Raku, Hyper Misao, and Shino Suzuki, a tag team match between the team of Rika and Pam Harajuku, taking on the team of Suzume and Mahiro Kiriao. I said this earlier, whoever thought it was a good idea to put Rika and Pam together after the match that they had, and the way that match ended at Wrestle Princess, is on another level. They should be fired for this. I'm really, really looking forward. This might be what I'm looking forward to the most on this show, to be honest, outside of the graduation ceremony for Haruna. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens here. Rika, I don't think, has put that loss aside. I don't think that these two are going to be able to team together flawlessly in any way. Also, as far as I know, Mahiro, at the time of the recording here, today is Thursday. This will probably release on a Friday. At the time of recording, Mahiro is still the DDT Ironman Heavy Metalweight Champion. I would expect that to play a little bit of a factor here as well, considering Suzume was one of the first people who tried to take that belt from her backstage at Wrestle Princess VI. We also have a singles match between Mizuki and Chika Nanase, a tag team match between Ober Eats and Toga and Ren Kanatsu. This is a bit of a preview match for the Princess Tag Team title match on October 18th. And then the main event will be a 6-woman tag team match, Miyu Watanabe, Arisu Endo, and Uda Takami, taking on the team of Yuki Aino, Haru Kazushiro, and Kira Summer. This, of course, will be a preview for the Princess of Princess title match taking place on October 18th, as well as a little bit of a preview for the Next Gen tournament, with Uda and Kira Summer participating in this match. We also have a couple of graduates to look into today. Yuka Sakazaki had a match on Ring of Honor Honor Club on September 18th. There's new entrance music for Yuka. A little bit surprised to hear that she's no longer using the entrance music that she used in TJPW, but don't fret. It's a little bit of a riff on her TJPW entrance music, so you still get the I-I-I-I-I's involved for all of you true fans out there, but it is a little bit of a, I don't want to say an upgrade, but maybe sort of an alternate take on her entrance theme. Yuka faced off against Janai Kai, who did not get a televised entrance, which likely tells you exactly how this match went. This was a pure rules match. It was a tune-up match for Yuka's tournament match against Serena Deeb coming up. We still don't know the date for that yet, which is a little bit interesting. This was a pretty solid match. Yuka started out pretty strong. Janai Kai, most of her offense was around kicks. That's her gimmick. She is the kick demon. Yuka had some good counterattacks here. Pure rules matches tend to be more submission based, which I know isn't Yuka's primary offense. Normally she's a little bit more speedy, a little bit more high flying, but she had a pretty good showing here. She ended up defeating Janai Kai around 4 minutes and 43 seconds with the magical merry-go-round. As I mentioned, still no word yet on when the Yuka Sakazaki and Serena Deeb match will occur in that Ring of Honor Pure Women's title tournament. But from what I saw, that they're slowly rolling these out. One of the other matches was announced for tonight's edition of Ring of Honor, so hopefully we'll see that match pretty soon. I also want to briefly touch on two former TJPW graduates. The first, Mina Shirakawa, who is currently wrestling in AEW. I know Mina is a little bit more known for her time in Stardom, but she was a participant in TJPW prior to joining Stardom, prior to joining AEW. Mina had an AEW Women's title match on the September 24th edition of Dynamite. A pretty good match. Mina ultimately came up short in that, but she has been getting quite a few title matches during her short time in the States. She's also featured very frequently, so if you are a fan of Mina Shirakawa, like myself, you are able to see her quite often on AEW TV. And then the other graduate I want to just briefly mention is Mirai. Mirai announced that she will be leaving Marigold next month, and quite the shock of an announcement. Mirai, of course, left Stardom a few years ago to wrestle for Marigold. Prior to Stardom, she was wrestling in TJPW. Not sure where this is going to lead for Mirai. I've heard that she might be going to America. People have been postulating that, whether it be AEW or WWE. People have thought maybe she'll freelance in Japan and try to make a going of it, working with Sendai Girls and Marvelous and all of the more independent companies. It would be really interesting to see if she goes back to Stardom as well. But this being a TJPW podcast, I wanted to just mine a little bit the idea that she might go back to TJPW. Mirai would be a really interesting addition to the TJPW roster. She's a little bit more of a straight-laced wrestler in the likes of, say, like a Miyu Yamashita, that can really counterbalance a lot of the comedy and a lot of the more lighthearted wrestling that we get in TJPW. TJPW has had quite a few departures of late, with Maki Ito, Haruna Neko retiring fairly soon, Yappy retiring fairly soon. It'd be interesting to see some new blood get infused, some veteran presence get infused, and again, just a more serious presence to be able to contend for that Princess of Princess title almost right out of the gate. Would be really great to see a Mirai and Miyu Watanabe match. I think that would be a power versus power match that all fans would be clamoring to see. But again, we're getting well ahead of ourselves here. Just wanted to kind of put the microscope under the idea of Mirai heading back to TJPW, but we do not know what is next for her. She will be with Marigold until sometime in October, I believe, is when she announced she will be leaving. And that brings us to the end of episode 2. Grab your cold spray, I'll toss you an ice pack. Next week on the show, we'll review the Shinkiba event and Haruna Neko's graduation ceremony. We'll preview the Next Gen tournament. I might even do a little bit of a bracket. Let me know if you guys want to hear about a bracket. We'll also preview the Autumn Victory and Shinagawa show on October 4th. I hope you've enjoyed today's show. If you did, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss out on any future episodes. You can follow us at Tokyo Joshi Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and X. If you want to email the show, you can do that as well, tokyojoshipod@gmail.com. But above all else, remember to keep your hearts burning, stay magical, my friends, and we'll see you next week on the Tokyo Joshi Pod.